Selling with Chatbots. How to sell products online using chatbots with Isaac Rudansky. I'm David Bain and welcome to another episode of the Chat Marketing Train brought to you by Mobile Monkey. Chatbots are an increasing trend in many types of online business, and for excellent reasons. Having a well-programmed chatbot can provide your business with a 24/7 customer service assistant that never needs to sleep. Engagement is the name of the game in today's world of fast-paced digital marketing, and selling with chatbots can give you that much-needed edge. In this video, I have a great conversation with Isaac Rudansky from Adventure Media, looking at things like what selling with chatbots actually is, how specifically chatbots can help with sales, and 3 great tactics on how to sell products online using chatbots. I started off by asking Isaac to share what precisely he defines as selling with chatbots.
If we look back in time, where you go back to the 50s, the 60s, sort of the golden age of advertising, consumers relied on advertisements and advertisers to learn about products. Like that is how information was communicated. That was the channel. An advertiser and a brand, they decided when to communicate information about a product, a new way to use a product. It was through advertisements, and that's how the consumers got their information. Primarily or really exclusively through print, before there was television and radio advertising. So part of reading the paper was to not only just read the news, but also to find out about products. When is the new oven going to come out? When is this new book going to be released? So on and so forth. Brands dictated the where, when, and how of information. We no longer live in a world like that. We live in the inverse of that, the opposite of that, where consumers dictate completely the where, when, and how of learning about new products and about the products that they're interested in. Because there are so many different channels. It is available so immediately. Consumer preferences are now all contextualized around free trials and samples and getting a lot more value and first experiencing a product or service before then committing to buy it. Brands have to adapt to the preferences and the desires of consumers. And part of selling with chatbots is tapping into that notion where consumers are talking and communicating with brands in a different way. We no longer want to have to go through complicated sales processes. We no longer want to have to open up even Google Chrome on our mobile phones, on our iPhone, and navigate to some clunky mobile website and scroll down and use a poorly designed mobile navigation to find out information about a product or for a sale. In case in point, like if I was to go back, let's say 10 years, and I was going to go to a hotel, I would go to the hotel's website. I would try to find a contact number. I would try to find promotions that are running. I would navigate around. I would maybe pull over on the side of the road and open up my laptop and connect to a mobile hotspot. That's what I would do. A year ago, I was going out to a hotel with my wife for our anniversary, and I wanted to let the hotel know that it was our anniversary because, sometimes they'll send up a bottle of wine or something like that for free. And I went to Facebook Messenger. I went to the hotel's page and I chatted with the hotel, and I just sent a Facebook message saying I'm going to be at the hotel. And first of all, I was doing this on the way to the hotel in the car while I was driving. So that's another different, not that that's safe, but it's certainly it indicates how different our expectations of how we could communicate with brands have shifted enormously. If you were to tell my parents or your parents, this is how things are done, they'd be like, it's crazy. They would have to call their travel agent to get in touch with the hotel. And it would be done a week or a month in advance. We're driving in the car, and I'm pulling up my phone at a red light, and I'm chatting on Facebook Messenger with the hotel saying, hey, it's my wife's anniversary. We're going to be there in 40 minutes. And 7 minutes later, I get a Facebook message back saying, awesome. We know what room you're in. We're sending up a bottle of wine. Do you like red or white? That's how brands need to position themselves if they want to take advantage of younger buyers, the next generation of buyers, or even a lot of consumers whose habits have shifted. So that's really so like selling with chatbots at its high level is that it's putting yourself in where consumers are and being able to give them information in the in the I guess the pipeline or structure or sequencing that they want. So another case in point with that is like, let's say a static form on a website. Well, in order to fill out a form, you need to fill out the entire form and complete it. You might have to give your name, you might have to give your address, you might have to give, other relevant information like what your budget is or what your timeline is, or who you're, like it could go from the simplest service to the most complicated governmental service. But either way, if you're dealing with a static form, you got to fill out the whole form. With chatbots, you could replicate the same underlying form, but you could do it in a way where the customer no longer has to give you all that information in one shot, right? A chatbot could start collecting this information slowly. And now 3 hours later, I'm now waiting online at the supermarket. I can go back, open up Facebook Messenger, and continue filling out the form on my time, on my schedule, giving you the information that I want when I'm ready to give it to you. So to me, that's what really selling with chatbots is really all about. It's allowing customers to reach you in the format, with the convenience that they want.
And is the way that customers want to actually communicate with a chatbot, or do customers not actually want to communicate still with a real person? Or are there instances where communicating with a chatbot is actually preferable because the speed of the responses and the accuracy potentially of the responses could be even better than dealing with a real person?
It's a good question. So I don't myself see the chatbot replacing the instances where you would want to speak to a real person, right? So here's the thing. Like there's the times where we have to speak to a real person when we don't really want to have to speak to a real person. And then there are times where you want to speak to a real person, right? So let's say I contracted the coronavirus, or I'd say I don't know if I have coronavirus. Let's say I'm just feeling sick. Okay, I have a fever. I probably want to speak to my doctor. Like I probably ideally want to speak to a doctor who I trust, who I could even go and see in person, because it's so important and it's so unique and so specific. Like I don't want to have to go to talk to a chatbot. There's emotions involved. There's anxiety involved. It's medical. It's like, it's real stuff. So that's a situation where I want to speak to a real person. Now that could also probably be true in certain instances. If I'm booking a cruise for my entire family and it's a complicated thing and I want to see if there's a bulk discount, and like everyone has different, my brother has an allergy and my parents need to be in a suite that overlooks this part of the ship. And, so I might also want to speak to a real person. So there's instances where I want to specifically speak to a real person. That's not what I see chatbots replacing. I see chatbots replacing two other things. One is all the times where we end up speaking to a real person when we don't really want to. It's a last resort. I'd much rather have this information at my fingertips, or situations where I end up trying to find the information on the internet somewhere where I would rather be able to ask that question to a chatbot and be given the answer. So let's say that very easy examples are like complicated FAQ pages. Many websites and services and products have FAQ pages that are long, thorough. I have to sift through the information to find what I'm looking for. I'd rather just be able to type in my question. The chatbot picks up on the keywords and spits the answer back out to me. Like, what's your shipping policy? Well, I don't know. Like, it's not that simple to find the shipping policy on a lot of e-commerce websites. So if I can go to the chatbot, like, when will this arrive? If I buy today, when will it arrive? Like, that's really, really great use of chatbot, where I might have called customer service even though I didn't want to. Or I might have had to spend a lot of time looking through an FAQ section. A lot of sites don't have FAQ sections. There's a lot of questions individuals have that aren't the answers to which are not readily available in the content of a website or an app or something like that, where chatbots could be extremely, extremely effective. So there's the information aspect, which I think we're more replacing all the times where we have to call and wait on the line, wait on a queue, go through a phone tree, but don't really want to. And the times where if without a chatbot, I might go hunting for the information, but if the chatbot has it at the ready, that's great. So those are really good uses for I think what chatbots are really replacing. But then there's also the efficiency. So even if you could tell me that, even if there were to be a case where all the information is in an easily available FAQ section type of thing, and it's on the website and I could chat and maybe I'm saving a minute or two, that's not really the value proposition itself. It's that it's being done through messaging. It's being done through an app that I'm familiar with. Like I'm on Facebook. I use Facebook Messenger. I could just scroll through my conversations with a friend and then jump with one click, one tap in the same app into a conversation I'm having with a business. That's a big value proposition. It's like these are the channels and the systems that I'm using, and chatbot conversations, especially through MobileMonkey, how it integrates with Facebook Messenger, how it really is a platform built on Facebook, built for Facebook Messenger. It's like you could talk and give all this information in the same place without any additional cognitive tension or frustration that your customers are already in, and the system with the channels and systems and techniques that your customers are actually using.
So when thinking as a business owner, when thinking about what selling with chatbots actually is, I would think it's moving someone from being in the consideration phase, moving a prospect from the consideration phase into actually either directly purchasing from you within the chat funnel or being ready to purchase from you as a result of that chat conversation. Do chatbots really deliver that bang and that possibility to move consumers through the funnel like that?
Totally. I think they definitely do, because what I just saw an David Ogilvy quote this morning. I think it said something like only amateurs use short copy, something along those lines. And he goes on to explain what he means by that is people are interested in learning about the products and services that they're really interested in buying. So while some like cheeky short copy type of funny thing might get more readership from a greater percentage of people who see it, but that's not your goal. Your goal is not to get the maximum amount of readership. Your goal is to get the maximum amount of readership from the people who might be interested in buying. That's really your goal. So brands, they underestimate often how much information and how much research a consumer is willing to do and wants to do before buying something. So chatbots is just another way to help consumers learn more and understand more about what you offer. So that's on the information side. So I think, and the way you, it's not rocket science. The way you move a consumer through the funnel is by giving them more information and explaining to them and letting them see how valuable what you're selling is. Like that is how you move people through the funnel. And chatbots could fit that role by giving that information in a way that consumers are willing to accept it. Because if you're not where your consumers are, you may never get the chance. They might not be back to your mobile site. You may not get the chance to show them that there's a sale. So there could be a sale. Sale is really value. It's like, right? Like if you're selling a set of whiskey glasses, then a sale is a form of value. It's like you could now get this thing, which you understand what it is. I don't need to explain to you what whiskey glasses are, because you could just look at it and see if you like them or not. But now you can get them for less, right? So that's value. I've given you value, and hopefully that's something which might move you down through the funnel. You might not have the chance to communicate that sale if you're not using a chatbot, if you're not on Facebook Messenger, right? Because your customer is not coming back to your site the way they used to, going back to our first point, waiting to hear from you, right? Like they're going to decide when and how and where. So you ought to be where they already are. The other element of value is describing more information about the quality of your product, about the quality of your service. So let's say you're a video production company. So value for you might not be lowering your price or some limited time sale. It might be like explaining, it might be notifying your customer base or your prospects that you have invested in new equipment. Now you might not get the opportunity to tell them that, and to do it in a way which is engaging and interesting if you're not using some sort of messaging platform. So to answer your question in a short way is yes, I do think chatbots could be very effective in moving customers through the traditional marketing funnel.
Brilliant. Okay. So it certainly sounds like in some instances, it's all about once you have that opportunity, once the consumer is there live on your messenger bots and at the right stage, you've perhaps just got that one opportunity to deliver that appropriate piece of content. So in a couple of minutes, hopefully we'll have a look at a couple of examples of great uses of selling with chatbots. But what are some of the bad examples? What's one bad example? What's one way that you've seen that businesses perhaps aren't doing it right, i.e. they're switching consumers off, they're not continuing consumers through the conversation, and you're perhaps losing that opportunity?
The most apparent way is building the bots poorly where they don't work, because that's how you're going to frustrate your consumers. And I don't have the screenshots handy now, but I have taken some very funny screenshots of the bots just not working, where you're filtering person through like, okay, they have to click a predefined answer, but then they type something and then it doesn't work and it sends them back to the beginning and you lose their information. And it's like, your brand sucks. I want nothing. Like, it's better to have no chatbot at all than a chatbot that doesn't work well.
Got you. So testing is absolutely the key.
Testing, being thorough. If you don't try to do more than you actually can do. So like, if you're building a bot with just predefined answers that people could select, you should say that. You should tell the customer, hey, I am a bot. Like, if you're Geico or you're United Airlines and you're building a $500,000 chatbot, right? Then it's like a whole different story. But if you're you or me, or like you're running a small company and you're building a bot that should answer a few different questions, or you're trying to promote a specific sale, then you just say that. Say, hey, I'm a bot. I cannot talk to you. I'm not very smart yet, but I have a few really cool things to tell you about today. And click one of the predefined buttons to move through this chatbot sequence, right? Like, that's better than trying to do anything else, because you're really being clear what you can and cannot do. And that's going to be a way to limit and avoid frustration.
Great stuff. Okay, well, let's hopefully have a look at a good thing to do. So can we ask you to share your screen and we'll have a look at a couple of good examples?
Absolutely. So I wanted to just walk you through a couple different quick examples of some tactics, let's say. We're not going to go through a full build out of a top to bottom chatbot. There's a lot of concepts. I have a course on chatbot building. The dashboard is a little bit outdated from my course, but it's about a 10-hour course. You could find it online. And it talks a lot about the fundamental ideas and strategies that are important to successful chatbots. But here's just a couple quick examples. So I like asking people a question. Psychologically, people are very primed to answer a question if it's asked them. One is because people just feel like an asshole if you ignore somebody, right? And even if it's a bot, like if somebody asks you a question, like you don't like not answering it. So start off your chatbot with a question, but also like Facebook's regulatory, some of their policies only allow you to continue chatting and different automations and things like that if a person first engages with your bot. So you really want to get that engagement. And having somebody answer a question gets you that engagement. So here's a quick question that you can start a bot off with is, hey there, it's your friend Jackie. I'm a sophisticated chatbot designed to save you money. Don't tell my boss. Again, you could be funny. There's nothing wrong with being funny. In fact, you should be funny. You should show your brand personality. People like to engage with brands that have a personality. Too many corporate brands are just dead inside. How's your day been so far? Right? It doesn't have to be so relevant, and you'll get a lot of responses. So I have 3 different options here. Awesome. Could be better. Today sucks. And then it sort of brings you down to a different path depending on how you answer the question. So this is just a good idea to start your bots off with a quick message and a quick question. So like, and you could use, here's another example. You could use MobileMonkey to route conversations based on selections into different bot sequences. And that's a really, really powerful thing to do, because then it gives it's a very easy way to give off that impression of like how customized this experience will be for how you're feeling, like what your personal specific situation is. So over here we have an I feel you, and then this is a dynamic variable. So dynamic variables are really great ways to personalize things. So once that user, there are certain dynamic variables that Facebook will give you without having to ask for it. So once a user interacts with the bot by answering that first question, I can now pull first name. So I say, hey, I feel you, Barbara. Here's to hoping that tomorrow's a better day. And there's a funny GIF from The Office. So again, use GIFs. GIFs are really, really good because anything that has like motion, video, humor is something which people are just addicted to looking at. So people will look at the GIF. And use personalization. So that first question that started off with, hey, how's your day going? And it's like, okay, my day could be better. My day really stinks. Then we could personalize the response. I feel you, Barbara. Here's to hoping that tomorrow's a better day. Now, this is not, I want to clarify something. The point here is not to try to trick people into thinking that somebody is typing to you on the other line. Like, we know this is a chatbot. The point that you're trying to communicate is that we're a brand that takes you seriously. We're a brand that has built a computerized program to interact with you in a semi-personalized way. And you're setting the stage that if you continue interacting with our bot, we will have information that's relevant to you specifically. And you set that tone early by asking how their day is and then having a separate answer for each of those questions, or you have a separate next follow-up response for each individual response. That's what you're communicating. One or two quick more examples here. Okay, so here's a really good way to run a sale. So let's say we have a few thousand users in our database, and we could send out a message to everybody at once, and they'll say something, hey, first name, and again, hey, Jack, we have a great sale running today on one of our most popular sectionals. Can I tell you about it? We did 3 things there in 2 sentences, right? 3 important things. One is we did scarcity. We use scarcity, that we have a sale that's running today. Now you could say today only, but whatever. The point is that you introduce scarcity. We have a great sale running today. People want more of what they think they cannot have for much longer. That's the psychological idea of scarcity. So we have a great sale running today on one of our most popular sectionals. That is social proof. If other people are buying it, that means it's something that I ought to check out. So there's 2 very strong psychological concepts baked into that one sentence. Can I tell you about it? Then we're asking a question. We're putting it on, we're not shoving the information down your throat. We respect that you're the consumer and you could opt in or out of every one of these communications. So there's 3 very important things happening psychologically in that, whatever that is, 15 words. So then a person could say, sure, and then we might have an answer that says, no, not right now, sure, whatever. Okay, so the text is the Anglo Classic 3-piece sectional with ottoman. Information, specific, objective. Regular price of $10.50. Information, objective is now on sale for just $639.99. That's 40% off. We didn't do anything fancy. We didn't say it's the most gorgeous, it's the most beautiful, it's going to change your life. It's like just pure facts. We only have a few of them left in stock, available to ship now for free. Again, free shipping is a major, major, major value proposition, especially in the furniture business. We only have a few of them left in stock. Again, a separate type of scarcity. So now we hit them with 2 scarcities. One is that there's only a few left. 2 is that the sale will only be running for a limited amount of time. So there's been a lot of psychological massaging in just 2 messages that we've sent. And then we use the gallery widget. Again, pictures are also huge. You have, MobileMonkey and Facebook Messenger is this amazingly rich channel of communication because you could send GIFs and video and PDFs and images. So use those images, use the gallery widget, and I can link directly to the product. You can use code ZZZMania at checkout for an extra 10% off your purchase today, and then one more push to get people to get an additional sale off. So this is a pretty solid example of how to use some of these psychological ideas if you're running a sale, right? None of this stuff is rocket science, and this will take you less than 3 minutes to build in MobileMonkey. Lastly, I have one more example here is you don't need to always be selling, right? You shouldn't be selling bottom of the funnel type campaigns with chatbots. Think of chatbots as if you're talking to a prospect, as if you're talking to somebody that you're telling about your business. Think about chatbots as a communication conversation tool. It's not a bottom of the funnel Google Ads click that you're trying to get a sale out of. So here's an example of this idea. So hi, hi Justin, can I send you a few professional tips on choosing the right rug for any room? No, we're not trying to sell you, right? We have a piece of content. We have an article that talks about professional tips on choosing the right rug for any room. Use MobileMonkey to promote your content. Use MobileMonkey to promote your blog posts. That's a really huge way. It's a really powerful way of using this type of software. You get people into your funnel, you expose people to the quality of your content, and you then trigger reciprocity. If you give something of value for free, the next time somebody wants to potentially buy a rug, they might think of you because they want to reciprocate all this great content that they've gotten from you. This is a tough one in today's day of an age in the internet, because so many brands are producing so much good, high quality free content that it's almost difficult to trigger that feeling of reciprocity. But if you have really good content, it's definitely possible. But even more so, more psychologically compelling, is that if they view you as a subject matter expert on a piece of content, on a topic like choosing rugs, if they view your brand as the authority on the topic, they will be much more likely to buy from you. So sure, send me a tip. Check out this blog post. It'll give you some handy advice for choosing the right color, shape, size, and pattern. Again, objective, specific color, shape, size, pattern. It's not like, check out this blog post, it's going to change your life. Check out this blog post, it's the best post ever written on rugs. It's like, no, here's an article that talks about color, shape, size, and pattern, right? Don't, like, another, like, you can't fool the consumer into buying from you. You can't trick the consumer into thinking your content is better than it is. People want information, they want objectivity, they want facts. So these are just some ideas of how to think about your bots and how to think about using chatbots in the modern world of communicating with today's consumers.
So Isaac, a lot of wonderful advice there in selling with chatbots. You mentioned psychological triggers there, and I love that, because that's so important, bringing in the key elements of traditional selling into the digital world. So can you just re-emphasize why this is important, and perhaps where people can find out a little bit more about this from?
Absolutely. Listen, at the end of the day, human nature is not changing, right? As far as any of us could tell. And I find that a lot of people getting into the digital advertising world, they're not familiar with like fundamental selling concepts, right? Like and it's important to be familiar with psychological concepts, and you should study the original masters of copywriting and the original advertisers, because they're the ones who have tapped into and figured out a lot of these concepts that still hold true today about effective advertising. And just because the channels have changed, whether it went from print to radio, from radio TV to the internet to chatbots to Facebook ads to influencers, right? All those things have shifted, but what gets somebody to buy hasn't changed. These ideas of reciprocity and identity and information and value, these things have stayed the same, and they're probably going to stay the same forever. So I think it's extremely important to understand these principles before you try to build a chatbot, before you try to go and sell products online, before you try to advertise through any channel. Recommendations that I would read, there's a few books that I highly recommend reading. One is Scientific Advertising and My Life in Advertising by Claude Hopkins. I've read it many times. It's a really awesome book. I can't say enough good things about it. It definitely helped change my perspective on advertising. I would read Confessions of an Advertising Man by David Ogilvy. I would also read Ogilvy on Advertising by David Ogilvy. Both are awesome. This is another great book that I would recommend reading, called Influence by Robert Cialdini, The Psychology of Persuasion. Very powerful book. And a book called Testing Advertising Methods. It's an orange book by John Caples, I think, which I don't have. I looked it out to somebody at the company. But those are my recommendations. Read those books. You will become a much better advertiser.
That is a few months worth of bedtime reading for all of our viewers. So a lot of takeaways there. You've delivered a lot of value today. Really appreciate it. Where can our viewers find out more about you?
So your viewers can find out more about me online. You could look at adventureppc.com, which is our digital advertising agency here based in New York. I run a membership program called the Agency Overdrive. So if you go to our website, or I could send you a link to Isaac Rudansky's Agency Overdrive training. You could look it up online. You could find a link to it through our website. It's a monthly membership where I upload weekly lectures that talk about building an agency, building clients, finding clients, advanced Google ad strategies, conversion rate optimization, copywriting, A/B testing, all sorts of good stuff like that. I think there's around 30 plus hours of content in the library that you get access to instantly when you sign up. And they'll be continuing to build content every week.
Wonderful stuff. Isaac, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Chat Marketing Train.
My pleasure.